Hello viewers, today we're going to do a clean and service on this Hampton Bay fan, which is a patent product. This particular one is. The model number is HBF12 1.1 amps. It does have a Macmillan's motor. I'll zoom this in a bit so we can peep it. The date code on there is April of '01. So probably sold sometime during the summer of 2001. And we got a couple issues here. Something's not quite right with the tilt adjustment. Yeah, it looks to me like that something's not positioned correctly, because if you undo this, you can push it up and over and then it will go back that far, which is how I think it's supposed to go back. But now, if you look at the screw is totally crooked in there. It's not at all close to being aligned properly, and you can't, I don't think that you can really, no, you can't tighten this up because it's crooked. So I'm not sure, whoops, I'm not sure what the deal is there with that, or if we're going to be able to fix that, or just how it is. It's almost like the hole is in the wrong place. It's got a fair bit of dust, well, dust too, but rust on the front guard here, which is a little bit difficult to get off. We can use steel wool to get most of it off, but that's going to take some effort, and it will never be quite as shiny as it should be, but that's just, it's just the nature of the situation. So I don't think I have any steel wool on hand, so that may be a project for another day. But let's go ahead and get inside here, and well, actually first let's check it, see how it runs. I don't think that it runs very well. No, it doesn't run very well at all. The bearings are locked up. So we're going to have to get some oil in there and clean it out. Looks like we have a balance issue too. Alright, so let's get started. The clips appear to be rusted shut, so we're going to give them some aid at the screwdriver so we don't bend them. Okay, so there's the inside of the guard. It's all rusted up and so forth. Yeah, it's definitely kind of stiff. So there does appear to be some rust on the shaft, so we're going to have to get it to run enough to take care of that. See if we have a balance issue here. Yes, we do have a balance issue. It's going to be tricky to solve it too, because it seems like this blade is heavier than the other two. Unless Well, it could be an alignment issue. This blade is bent forwards quite a bit. Now it's not, so maybe that was not to fix, I don't know. So we got a Allen key on there, which we need to remove first. And we'll get the right size out, which I think it's going to be this size. Oh, that's a bit too small. There we go. Move that a couple of turns. Let's see. Yeah, the blade's a little bit stuck. I think we should be able to work it loose though. I don't think it's stuck beyond all recognition here. Make sure that I hold the center of it, not the blades themselves. It's just getting caught on the end. I didn't want to have to get the puller out, but we have to. There we go. So the blade is off. It's ready to get cleaned. And now the motor shaft has all got hair on it. And it looks like there is traces of lubrication on there still, so we may have a just a case of dried up oil that's kind of solidified over the years and gotten kind of sticky. Alright, so there's a little bit of rust on the inside, so let's give it a good sanding. Now if I can find where the sandpaper went. Ah, jeez. I'm losing a lot of stuff lately. Good. Where is the sanding paper? Come on. Oh, here it is. This is the thicker. I want the finer grit. There we go. Okay. Got it. Alright, this should give us a nice clean surface to slide the bearing through and off of. A quick general wipe down here, and we're going to see that the paint is actually in really nice condition still. This must have been stored near a lot of moisture. It's a daggone shame that the guard is so shot as far as the finish is concerned. Alright, so now I think it may be easier to just, well, let's see, there's two approaches we could take here. We could leave everything attached, or we could do some detaching. And I think we're going to leave it. Well, I guess we'll have to detach it to clean the back on a motor housing. So we'll detach the motor. I think this is the size of a, yes it is. It's a 3/8, I guess. Okay, so the motor is free now, and let's open the housing of the switch. Is that not a screw there? No, it's not. It's some kind of funny. Is this not? Huh. Well, I guess the switch is not easily removed. So we'll just leave it alone. There's no reason to remove it anyways. Okay, we got some good size nuts on here, which have zero interest in being easy to remove. Okay, now we should be able to split the motor apart, and I want the stator to go with, to stay in the back. So this gets super flaky here because if you slip, you're done. I want to just kind of open this up a little bit. It's, like I said, this is a super fragile movement that we're making here. You cannot make a mistake at this point, and your screwdriver cannot slip. It will be a fatality if it does. Okay, so this is ready to come off now. Do not force it. If it doesn't come, we'll have to sand it down. It's not coming, so we gotta sand it down some more. No problem. It's better to spend a few extra minutes to do it correctly than to jack up the bearings and then have a crummy at the end. It's just the tip that's got to go down more, the last like quarter inch or so. This motor's got some power to it. That's crazy. I'm applying a lot of pressure and it's not bogging down at all. Alright, let's try that. Something is definitely wrong with the way this tilts. Okay, now see here it's grabbing onto the wrong side. There we go. Okay, see how that easily just slipped right off that time? That's what we need. Cannot force it, otherwise you will wreck the bearings. Okay, so we're inside the motor, and it's a basic 4-pole shaded pole motor. Is there a thrust washer there? There is. So we'll keep that with the shaft, or we'll just throw it on the table. We will keep that with the shaft. And there's one on the front too, so those are both with the shaft for now. And it's not too dusty in here, but we do want to blow all the dust out, so since this should be fairly easy to open up, I'll just take the rear housing off, and again we're going to use super amounts of caution right there doing that. And pop that right off. Remember the orientation, the stator sits in the housing. That is not able to be interchanged, otherwise you'll get something running in the wrong direction. And we're just going to wipe all the big chunks of dust off here. This is a very delicate process. You do not want to apply any kind of excessive force to the windings or the pieces in between. Very, very gently, and I'm going to go and grab some compressed air and we'll finish it off with the compressed air. I just wanted to start with this to get most of it out. And I would not recommend putting this down on a hard surface like a metal guard. So I'll put this cloth there to rest on it while I go get the compressed air. Okay, I got the compressed air. Okay, the stator is now perfectly clean, and this cleaning of the stator is going to be part of a periodic maintenance as you use the FIAN. Really the only thing that kills these motors is heat, and it's the heat buildup of dust blocking the vents, covering the windings, and making the motor unable to cool. So if you keep these things clean, they really last a remarkable amount of time. And we're talking decades on end if they operate clean. So you don't have to take it apart to clean it out. Just spray the compressed air through the vents on both sides, and that will be adequate to keep it clean and keep the air flowing through there to keep the temperature down. Now the back cover does have a little bit of rust on it here and there, and nothing crazy, but it's not perfect. This can fair to be sanded and repainted. It's kind of bubbling up a little bit, probably from some kind of moisture exposure. But for a 20-year-old fan, it's not terrible. And a fan that was likely in some kind of a utility application. You know, this is not a typical household fan that would have had a good chance of being taken care of or used in a clean environment. This was probably in a garage or on a job site or something of that nature. Alright, so that looks pretty good for that. I'm not going to go crazy with cosmetics today. Just want to get it operational. So, that's open in there. What an odd design. Anyways, so this is good to go now. We'll stick this back on. And we're renumbering the orientation. This one on the back. So it goes on like this. And what we have to do is we have to make sure the holes where the screws are going to pass through, these long ones, line up. Let's see here. On the older motors, the screw heads were square, and so they'd lock into place and not turn. This doesn't seem to have that feature, which is kind of a shame, because that was a good feature. Before we go ahead and put this back in, I want to clean the shaft out, so I'll get a new ticker towel. And we'll just kind of do this and stick this in here and just clean this out a little bit. There's a fair bit of dried up old lubricant in there, which is having the adverse effect of what it's supposed to be doing. Alright, that looks pretty good. So now we'll take some oil, and we're going to use zooming spout oil, which is for electric motors. Could also use the blue can 3-in-1, which is specifically for vans and lawnmowers. And we're going to put a few drops of oil into the bearing itself. And then we're also going to put some oil into this wicking material here. And this is what will kind of serve to lubricate the fan as it operates over time. A lot of the older motors had an oil port on the outside of the motor, a hole here, which would go through into the area where the cloth is. But this one just doesn't have that, so we have to fully disassemble it in order to really oil it properly. Which is too bad, because that's going to decrease the number of people that will actually take the time to oil it properly. Okay, so that's oiled now, so we're going to go ahead and put this back on. And again, we're going to pay attention to the 4 square holes. We'll make sure that they line up with the holes on the stator. There's two notches that are deeper. This is the deeper one that has to go where the cord is. Otherwise the cord won't fit through. And we'll just make sure the holes are aligned. Looks like they are. And we can push this down into the shell. And we still want to be using caution, but we don't have to be too crazy anymore. We can just put it down like that. So now we'll do the same thing on the front here. Let's give this a good cleaning. This seems to be in a little bit better cosmetic condition than the back is. But it too could use a repaint. Okay, so now there's a lot of like residue on there of old dried up lubricant. Now what we want to do is we'll do the same thing. We're going to clean the shaft out. Or we're going to clean the bearing out rather. This is not the shaft. We're getting a good amount of junk out of there. It's pretty dirty. Okay. And now we'll do the same thing with the oil. We're going to put the oil in the wick, and it'll eat up quite a few drops usually, as long as it's dried. Okay, and now while that's soaking in, we'll turn our attention to the shaft, and we're going to clean the shaft up a little bit. It's got a lot of excess lubrication on there, so we'll clean all that off. The thrust washers seem okay, so we'll leave those alone. If the motor was making a bunch of abnormal noises, it could potentially be time to replace these, but I don't think they have too much wear on them. This seems to be like a pretty low hours VN. A lot of these VNs, I've noticed just from working on them over the years, are typically either beat up or very low hours. And I heard somebody suggest a theorem on this a while back, and it makes sense. Their theory was that people bought the fans for household use, and then they ended up just being too powerful and too loud, and so they never really saw much use. Perhaps that was the case with this one, although being this, look at that 14-inch model, you know, it shouldn't have been that crazy loud, but who knows. You can also turn these washers around sometimes when they get worn out, and though you get a couple more, usually quite a bit more hours out of them that way. I put them back on the same orientation they came out because they're working fine. Alright, let's wipe off the excess oil from here. And you really don't want excess oil here because it'll just collect dust. So, get that as clean as I can within reason. Now we're going to drop the shaft back in here. I'm going to put a little bit of oil on here, just a drop to go around to cover it as I slide it back into place. And it's not going in for some reason. I think what might have happened is it's out of alignment. Yeah, that's what happened. The shaft, the bearing got out of alignment. This can actually move left and right a little bit, and so if it's not perfectly vertical, it obviously is not going to align. So when you push it down, you're going to notice that there's an air pocket in there. You just kind of have to get it through there, and it's spinning beautifully. So now we'll put the front back on. I'm going to put a little bit of oil into this bearing itself so that the shaft isn't slipping through a dry surface. And again, we're going to pay attention to the alignment of the holes. And it should be good. I'll push this down. Drops into place. And that looks pretty good. The shaft is pretty stiff right now. Don't panic. That is normal. We'll get to that in a minute. There's absolutely a way to correct that, and we will correct it. So now, stick these back through with the bolts on the other side. And this does not go crazy tight, it just goes snug. I'm going to make sure it's symmetrical and down all about the same throughout, which it looks to not really big, but it's a little strange. I guess it's not that bad. We'll go with it. We'll just tighten these up, finger tight, and then maybe another quarter turn with the wrench just to firm it up a little bit. Okay, now let's screw everything back into place here, just to make it easier to work with. Huh, that's kind of odd. Did I put the screws in backwards? I must have put the screws in backwards because... yeah, I guess I put the screws on backwards. Because the bolt studs were hitting the back of the frame, so... I could have sworn it was like that. Huh. It doesn't really matter which way those go. Let me take a look back at the video and see which way it went. I just checked back on the video, and I do in fact have it backwards. So let's just go ahead and correct that now. It should go like this. Okay, now we're ready to reattach. And the alignment back here is making a lot more sense now, because it's able to set flush. Okay, so we're good with that. Now the motor is lubricated and reattached. However, shaft, oh actually it's freed up quite a bit. Oh, it's not too bad now. But if it was stiff, and even if it's not stiff, to align it correctly, you just take our screwdriver and kind of strike it a couple times. Move it back and forth kind of aggressively, in and out a little bit, and I'll align it right up. And just for good measure, I'll throw one more drop of oil in here. Let that seep down into the bearing. Turn this thing on for a moment. It's running good. Certainly much happier than it was before. Okay, so that's that. Now let's get on to cleaning the blades. The blade is in need of a repaint. It's got staining, it's got paint loss. It doesn't look very good at all. So this VN is going to need a cosmetic revisit for sure. So that's the blade, and then the guard of course is full of rust on the inside. And it doesn't look too much better on the outside. The original protective plastic is still over that logo. So I suspect once I peel that off, the logo will be in flawless condition. But I'll do that after we go through the thing and get all the rust off. So I took some sandpaper and I went along down here. You can see the difference very, very clearly. This is cleaned. So it definitely has the potential to look very nice, but it's going to take some time, and I got to get some more paper. Really should be using steel wool is better than the paper because it gets on there easier. So we'll have to do a cosmetic revisit. It's not going to look the greatest after we put it back together this time, but we'll get it there eventually. So now I'm going to put the blade back on, and what I like to do is I put a drop of oil inside of here where the nut is, just so that it doesn't freeze up as easily. Just Just a very small drop of oil in there. And then I put a little bit on the shaft, a minute amount, just so hopefully it doesn't stick to the shaft next time. Can't do very much, otherwise it'll get everywhere. So the screw has to go on the flat side of the shaft. So it will go like this. And there's a little notch where the screw should rest on the shaft. So we need to get the screw to sit on there, which looks like it should be somewhere right around there. And so what we'll do is we'll tighten it up, and then you'll be able to feel when it starts to sit in place, because it won't move forwards and backwards anymore. So see right here, it's going in and out just a specific distance. That means it's in the hole. That's how you can tell. So now we'll tighten this up the rest of the way. And it should go pretty tight. You don't have to go crazy, but it's got to go pretty tight. There we go. The alignment of the blade looks pretty good from the back, at least. Maybe not so much from the front. Yeah, I guess not. This blade is a bit forwards there. Well, you can see it's spinning much more freely. Let's power it on. That is running strong now. But we have a major balance issue. It is shaking all over the place. Major balance issue. So, the first thing we want to do to correct the balance issue is we want to get the clock of the blades to be as close to accurate as possible. So the way the blades are front and back, and it's already pretty close. You look at it like this, you know, it's not too bad. It's not perfect, but it's relatively close. I think we have a weight issue here. I think we have one or two blades that is heavier than the others. So what we're going to do to figure that out is just put it at any random position, and we're going to go like this, and in theory the heavy blades will fall to the bottom. Okay, see it moving? So it looks like this blade is going to be heavier. So put that back up at the top. Let's see, something else is happening now. Oh, it's going back down. So it looks like this blade is the heavier blade, which means we could have two blades that are lighter, which is kind of a tricky thing to deal with. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take some lead tape, and I'm just going to put a very small amount on the back of these two blades. I don't have a really super good way to do this. It's really a guess and check kind of thing. But we're going to start with small amounts and see what happens. Sometimes I get it perfect the first shot. Sometimes You can spend a half an hour and not get it quite right. It's frustrating, but it's not a function of your skill. It's a guess and check kind of deal. So just stick this on here, and I'll show you what this looks like in a moment. Just for curiosity, let's run it up and see if just the one by itself makes any difference. No, it's still far out, very far out. Okay, so it's just a little piece of tape on the back of the blade there. See if that made any difference. It did make it better. It's still pretty well out of balance though. Better, definitely better, but it's still more out than I would want it to be. Oh. See, now what I'm not sure of is that is it too much tape? Is it too little tape? You know, this is where it starts to become a guessing game and it gets annoying. This method works better if you have ball bearings. So now it seems like the heavy side is these two blades, and that's not the one that has the tape. This is the one that has the tape, and this has the tape. So maybe this blade needs a little bit more tape. That's what that would tell me. Nope, it's still totally out. This is going to be a not fun one, I can tell already. Okay, now this blade appears to be the heaviest, which of course is the one with the two pieces of tape, so maybe I need something in between the two values that I put on there. So let me take the bigger piece off. I mean, to me it feels like it's way out of line, but maybe it's not as bad as I thought it was. Okay, that's better. It's still not right, but it's better. Okay, so now we have, looks like this will be the heavier side, which has the one piece of tape still. Well, then you need a little bit more tape on this blade, or what I could also do, I don't trust this isn't going to fly off, but I'll just put it there. If you put it in a different position on the blade, it has less effect or more effect. Let's see what that does. It's getting a little bit closer maybe. It's still very far out. Actually, I think it's better without that. So could it be? It could be that even what's there is too much. That's a possibility as well. So let's see here. That was pretty clear. This is definitely heavier, and that does not have any tape on it. So let's try. Let me cut this piece of tape in half. Not sure how many more times I'll be able to get this to stick, but let's try putting this. No, that one's not sticking anymore. Let's try sticking that on there and see what that does. Okay, that improved it. That seemed to improve, so maybe we need more weight on that blade. So if I move this piece of tape up towards the outside of the blade, it'll have more effect. And so if it gets better now with that further out, we know we need some more weight on this blade. Huh, that's better. I think that's getting better. Alright, so let's try that. Let's try adding some more weight to this blade. I don't think I can get this to stick anymore. It's just not sticky, but just the worst that'll happen is it flies off. That's very, very close. Alright, so let's what we're going to do is we're going to take these two pieces off because I don't trust them. They're like an edited comment. It just can't be trusted. Where did that go? There it is. So now we'll put a new piece on here, which is about the length of the other two. Let's see where that brings us. Really still not great. It's definitely better than it was originally, but it's still very far out of alignment. Yeah, I wouldn't even run it like that. That's ridiculous. Okay. I'm kind of surprised that I thought it was better than that. Well, let's see here. Does it need more? Yeah, it does. It actually needs more on that blade. Okay. It needs even more than that. Wow, this blade is really out of whack. Surprised it's so bad. Okay. Let's put another piece on that blade. That's not bad. It's not perfect, but it's a huge improvement. At least the cage isn't all shaking anymore. Let's try adding a little bit more to that blade. Maybe it's just that far out of whack. Really wouldn't have thought it'd be that bad, but that piece may fly off. Okay, that's almost perfect like that. Almost perfect. So let's add yet more tape to that blade. Holy mackerel, I can't believe how bad this is. Kind of unusual to have to use this much to correct it. This is like going to Air Queen level balance issues. That's pretty close. It's not really shaking much. It's not imperfect. It's absolutely not perfect. But it's a big improvement from what it was. And I think we're just going to go with that. Not perfect, but it may have to suffice. I think it's good enough. It's really close. I prefer perfection, but it's very difficult to get these 100%, and sometimes you just gotta settle with what you can get, because you can spend hours playing with this and never get it quite right. So if we've got it pretty good, then sometimes you just gotta be content with that. So let's close this back up and do a test here. This is the low, and you know, it's not in perfect balance, but it's not jumping all over the place either. Could be better, but it's an improvement, and sometimes you just gotta stay with that. Nice and quiet, calm, low speed. Got some good power on medium. It is still shaking a little bit, but I don't know. It's better, but it's not really correct. I only have so much time in the day that I want to spend on this, so it may just be where it sits. Oh, some good air. Just a strong little fan. Yeah, the balance isn't crazy. It's good enough. So it's operable for now, and we'll have to do a revisit on this fan to get the cosmetics up to where they should be.